What up, guys? Welcome to the Belt Barber podcast, the first and only podcast about entrepreneurship for barbers and beauty professionals. My name is Tic Invictus, and I have here my co-host, Lydia Moreno, my wife. She's in total control of the cameras today. I have an specialist. He in business. He's a business coach, advisor, and we're going to have an amazing conversation. We're going to be out of the script today. He's going to throw on the table all value, important things in all aspects of business. There are people that are listening to us, barbers, barbershop owners, hairdressers, salon owners, nail tech. So I bet this will add a lot of value for them. Follow me on Instagram, Tic Invictus. And this podcast is sponsored by Invictus Podcast Studios. And let's start. My brother, Doron.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm great.
Can you share with us what you do, what you really do, and share a little bit
Sure.
about yourself?
Absolutely. So I work with business owners to help them grow their business faster and build the value of their business. For most business owners, their business is their most valuable asset that they'll own, right? Even over the course of their entire life. So no matter how you do in business, no matter how much money you take home, typically the business itself is the most valuable thing that you own. So it just makes sense to make it as valuable as you possibly can, because sooner or later you have to exit the business. You either sell it or they carry you out of there and everyone auctions off your stuff. But it's much better, obviously, to sell it to another buyer or to pass it on to the next generation or something like that. My background is I actually grew up in business. I have this funny name, Doron Abrahami. I'm a first-generation American. My parents came to the U.S. in the late 60s. My father's first job was a busboy cleaning tables, and my mother's was cleaning golf shoes at a country club. We came a long way since then. To make a long story short, like a lot of immigrants, we went into the food business. And over my young life, I worked in various retail food places. Sometimes it was a sandwich shop, a fried chicken, all the way up to family restaurants and what have you.
At least you know how to cook.
At least I know how to clean. I do know how to cook, but it has nothing to do in the restaurant business. It's actually very similar to the salon barber business, in the sense that there are two kinds of people, I want to say, who go into the business. One is someone who knows how to cook, or they're good enough at it that they can sell what they do. And the other one is someone who's good enough at it that they can get the ball rolling, but is very happy to hire other people to actually do that expertise, right? So I know how to do a lot of basic stuff. If I had to run a small sandwich shop or something, or fast food or something like that. If I needed to be the chef in a restaurant and turn out the dishes, I'd be in trouble, right? Because it's not a matter of just knowing what to do. It's you actually have to be able to do it under pressure, right? It takes a lot of practice. But the way to know who the owner is in a restaurant is see who's cleaning the bathroom. Because the owner, if you see someone cleaning the bathroom in a tie, that's probably the owner or the manager of the restaurant, because everyone else is busy doing important things. So the only person left is the person, quote unquote, in charge, right? So anyway, fast forward, by the time I graduated high school, we had moved from retail to wholesale. Baking cakes and desserts for supermarkets and hotels and restaurants. The reason being, as I'm sure your listeners know, when you're in the retail business, you work on weekends and holidays, right? When everyone else is off, you're on, because that's when they can come see you. So after, 15, 16, 17 years of doing that, my parents decided to go into the wholesale business. So I came of age in a business that sold to other businesses. Because I was the person in the family who spoke English, I quickly became, they spoke English, but not like I speak English, right? I became the marketing person. And because the business grew at by the time they sold it, we had between 60 and 100 workers, depending on the season. Literally started the business in our garage. But I was college educated, so my father's idea of improving performance was yell louder. That doesn't actually work. It turns out that you can yell as loud as you want. In fact, you can even pay as much as you want, but if your systems aren't good, you're never going to get any better results, right? So I started to bring in those sorts of, management operational ideas. Met my now wife, who's from Israel. She wanted to start our...
You met her here in the States?
I did. We could spend the whole hour talking about this, but her father and my father are childhood friends. Even though anyone who knows my father is convinced that it was an arranged marriage, but it wasn't really an arranged marriage. But I met her here. We moved to Israel. I had to reinvent myself because I had been in the food business my whole life. And the only game in town really was high tech. So I got a technical writing job, which is back in the day, I don't know if you'll remember, but you used to buy software. It used to come on discs, right? You didn't download anything. And in that package was a book on how to use whatever it was, right? So I was the guy who wrote those books.
Interesting.
Yeah. But again, I'm in Israel, right? And again, I'm the person who speaks English really well. I already happen to know a lot about marketing and sales from my life. So I quickly got into the marketing and sales side of business. And I spent the next 15 years in high tech, working in startup companies and large companies. Some of the companies got purchased. Some of the companies went out of business. Everything that you can imagine. And grew over the years. I eventually got an MBA while working. And in 2008, I decided to go out on my own. Anyone who has had an entrepreneur for a parent knows that no matter how well you're doing in your job, you always have like a little devil on your shoulder telling you that you're a fraud. If you're not in business for yourself, it doesn't matter what your title is or how much money you make. If it's not your business, you're fooling around. So I listened to that little voice, and I started my own business, and I was a marketing agency. We did strategic stuff like branding, messaging. We got into web design, e-commerce, but we also had a shop that did screen printing and embroidery. So T-shirts and hats and polo shirts for trade shows and little giveaways and things like that. I got lucky. So during those years, I moved back and forth with my family to the United States and back to Israel and back to the United States. We moved here to Florida, where we are. And I got lucky and I was able to sell that business because I had done some things right, but also the market was right. And I sold that business and I said to myself, I don't want any more payroll. I don't want any more overhead. I don't want any more inventory. I'm going to eat what I kill. I'm going to go out and get clients, and I'm going to advise them on their business. And initially it was marketing, was also strategy, and I'll talk about why, well, maybe I will, but how that happened. But then eventually it became everything. Operations, a little bit of finance, because that's what happens in a business. At a high level, every business, no matter how big or how small, has sales and marketing, which is how you get people to know you exist, right? Operations, which is whatever it is you do. So in a barbershop or a salon, it's the hair cutting and the nails and what have you. And the finance, which is making sure that you make enough money to stay open, provide for your family, and all the rest of those things.
Invest and stuff.
Yeah. So that brings us to today.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing business advising?
Strictly business advising, I want to say 8 years. I did it as a part of my marketing business as well. What would happen is I would find a client and we would talk about marketing, and I would ask the client, well, what's your strategy? And they would say, well, our strategy was to hire you. And I would say, no, that's not a strategy. That's a tactic. Where are you trying to go? What are you trying to be? What's the long-term vision, right? So because no one had thought about it, or maybe they thought about it, but no one else in the business knew what they were thinking, I started to advise people on how to put that strategy together, because it's necessary to know that before you make any marketing decisions.
Yes.
Otherwise, you don't
Before
know
you
what,
move forward, yes.
Yeah, otherwise you don't know what decisions to make, right?
I actually noticed this is a pattern with a small business, that a lot of them don't know where they're going. They're just there doing operational tasks all day long. And then if you ask, where do you want to go? They don't have a clear answer. They don't have a clear vision. And therefore their marketing, as you said, doesn't reflect their vision. Their employees don't understand the vision. And everybody's lost just doing tasks every day, but they don't get to nowhere because they don't have a vision.
I believe you're going to have the right answer for that, but one of the things that I think is because you're so drowning yourself with all these things going on. Now, let's say you're a startup, like you just open a business, you've been in a business for 1, 2, 3, 4 years, and you're kind of drowning with all these overhead costs, people learning, and you don't see the exit, the line on the end of the tunnel.
Right.
I think they just start wrong. When you don't have a vision, you're just
Of course.
going with the flow. You get to nowhere. If you don't know where you're going,
So most people start the business because they want freedom. That's
Yes.
really what they want.
In long term.
Right
freedom
now,
and money.
right now, even long term too, but right now, I don't want a boss. I want to be able to decide when I work and when I don't work. I don't know if I'm allowed to use this kind of language, but I'm from New Jersey, so I talk like this. I don't want any shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want to be my own master, right? Which is great, but then step one is you have to make a living, right? So the only thing that you're thinking about in the beginning is, I want to be free and I need to make a living. And you very quickly get caught up in that struggle, and you can get stuck in that forever.
True.
So it's not enough to say, I want to be free. You have to think about, and the sooner you do it, the better, what do you want to do with your freedom? Because if your freedom means you have to work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, are you really free? You may want to do that. That's different. But a lot of people, and this is true in every size business, work 7 days a week, ridiculous hours, because they have to. Because if they don't, something bad is going to happen to the business. So instead of being free, you've now traded being a slave for someone else's business
You slave to yourself.
to
the
slave to your
company.
own business. Right.
That's so true.
Yes. And when I talk about accountability, when you become accountable, when you have a business, comes commitment, comes responsibilities, and there are consequences, right? That's what
100%.
they say. I think there's a difference between accountability and responsibility.
I agree with that.
The word accountability only exists in United States.
In English.
In
Yeah.
English, actually.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, you're right.
So yeah, and responsibilities, you have to do what you have to do, right? What was the mission or the task?
Mhm.
And accountability is something that comes from inside, right?
It's
Right.
when
It
you
can-
take
It
res-
can
like
be assigned. So when I work with clients, businesses where there's many people, this is actually one of the biggest issues early on. Businesses think about the organizational chart, right? Like who reports to who is whose boss. But work doesn't go that way. Work goes across the business, right? So if you think about it, like, let's say you have a big shop, a big barber shop, right? You might have multiple people in multiple chairs. It doesn't matter how you pay them because the only people who care about that are the IRS, to be honest with you. Someone in that business is responsible to make sure that there are plenty of people there working, right? Partially because that's attractive to people outside, and partially you have all these chairs and you have rent and you have to pay the rent, right? The problem is either the person who's accountable for it doesn't really understand what that means to be accountable. Sometimes people think it means I have to do it. I have to make sure that there's people in the chairs. And if there's not, I have to be at the chair, right? That's not what accountability is. That's responsibility. Accountability is just making sure the thing happens, right? Doesn't mean I have to stand at the chair. It doesn't mean I have to go find barbers. It means I have to make sure that, hairdressers or nail or whatever, there's people there. And that could mean I send someone else to do it. Also, it could mean, depending on the business, that the person I send to do it is actually, technically, my boss. We agree, my boss and I, that I'm accountable for it. But the person who's best at doing it may be the person who's technically my boss. So what my boss really expects from me when I'm accountable for that is that when I, the boss, am not doing it because I'm too busy thinking about other stuff, that I will come and tell the boss, listen, this is not happening, right? It's not that your hands are off. Even though you're not the person who does it, you're not the person with the most skill, et cetera, and so on, you're the person that says, hey, this is happening, or hey, this is not happening, or hey, there's a problem, or whatever it is. So in businesses, that has to be clear who's accountable for what. In a lot of businesses, multiple people are accountable for something, and that's the same as no one being accountable.
For sure.
Right? Because when two people are accountable, then they both, somewhere in the back of their mind, expect the other person to be paying attention.
Yes.
So you can think about a small business. I mean, you could have a married couple that's running a business. If you're not clear who's accountable for what, and remember, nobody works for anybody here. You're partners. If anything, the husband works for the wife, right? Even though the husband thinks he's the boss.
For
I know
sure.
that.
Right?
100%.
We know.
But if you're not
right, babe?
clear, right? If you're not clear, well, I'm accountable for the finance, and you're accountable for the barber, and I'm going to be accountable for marketing, but I need you to do the selling because you're better at sales or whatever it is. It still has to be clear who's accountable. Because if you think that we're all accountable, that's the same as no one being accountable.
And nothing gets done.
Nothing gets done.
For sure.
Can I make an analogy?
Sure. It's your show.
Accountability and responsibility, right?
Yeah.
Imagine a mother of a child. Imagine someone that doesn't have child, for example. And this mother will need this person to take care of their child because she's going to travel, do whatever, run some errands. What this mother will do to that person, right? We give her a list. Right?
Yeah.
And then she's gonna go through that list, and in the morning I have to give her milk, cereal, and I have to wake her up at 9. She needs to dress up, go to the school, be there at 10, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
That person is reading a script. It's coming from outside. She only has the responsibility, right? And the mother, she don't need the script. She's accountable. She's already unconscious. To wake up in the morning, she knows the time and what the daughter or child will eat and what time she's going to have to be at school. So I think accountability.
And she's going to
is come from
evaluate
within.
that the person she hired is doing a good job, right? Because
Yes.
she's accountable. The mother's accountable for the child,
Yes.
ultimately, right? Now, here's something that if the mother was an excellent manager, the mother would help the other person, not only by giving them a script, but by being very clear what you want the outcome to be. I want my child to be healthy, alive, happy, right? Well fed. That's it. Clean, Now, this is what I suggest you do, and this is what works. The problem is, often in business, you give someone the script, but you don't tell them what the actual objectives are. That, by the way, when I talked about strategy, that's the objective part of it. We get so caught up in the weeds of the business that we give people a list of actions without, and assume that they know what we know about why that's the way to do things.
Yes.
But what happens if something goes sideways? Which you know it's going to.
Mm-hmm.
You know something's going to happen. Some client is going to be crazy, yelling because they had a bad day, right? Someone is going to be late. Someone is going to be early. The hot water isn't going to work. Someone forgot to charge the clipper, so now all the batteries are dead, right? Even though it's all on the lists, something didn't happen. If the people don't know what the objective is, which is to make the customer happy and feel good that they got good service, right? Then it doesn't matter what it says on the list.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. I think one big mistake of two big mistakes of small business owners are: one, be too much in the operational daily tasks that they could assign to someone else to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Either because they think they can't afford, or either because they want to have control, or they think no one can do better than I would do,
Yeah,
which
we call
is
that delegation.
delegation.
Don't know how to
Exactly.
delegate, right?
And they think like no one can do like I do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you have a person that you train and you have the patience to help that person develop the skills you need that person to have, maybe the person will have already. But if not, have patience, train the person. They can do. Human beings are capable of amazing things.
100%.
So sometimes they say too much, especially barbershop owners that are barbers.
100.
They spend too
By the way,
much-
it's every business. The biggest weakness that every business owner has is their biggest strength. Because whatever you're good at, and you know you're good at, and got you to success in the first place, it's a very difficult internally to delegate any of that to someone else to do. And if your goal in business, and it's not everyone's, but if your goal in business is to grow the value of the business, that means you have to get out of the way. So if the best thing you do is you're a great barber, right? If you have to be the barber, you cannot grow your business because you're always
Exactly.
trading your time for money.
That's the point I was about to get at. Like,
Yeah.
if you're behind the chair just cutting hair, while you could be training barbers to join your team, and therefore you'll be able to serve more people, and then you're gonna have more free time to do the other things that will grow the business.
Right.
One day it was funny because I have a neighbor that has a business in the same plaza, and we received an email from the Chamber of Commerce about a grant opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I took advantage. So I put myself in the list. It's a grant. Why not?
Right.
And we won the grant. And then she was like, how do you always know about everything that is going on? Because instead of just being the operational tasks all day long, I'm always networking. I go to Chamber of Commerce. I connect to people. So I'm always aware of what's going on around me. And then new doors and new opportunities are open to us because we take this time to not be just there in the operational tasks every
Right.
single day, because this won't grow our business. I can have a receptionist. Tico can have barbers.
Absolutely. That's what I meant by you have three things, even if you're by yourself: sales and marketing, operations, and finance. So in your case, and I don't know if I happen to know you guys, so I know you had a conversation about it. Not only are you accountable for let's say the overall quality of the shop, even though I don't think you're cutting anybody's hair ever, but you're also accountable for sales and marketing. And a big part of that,
Just adjust your microphone.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Closer to your mouth.
So
Yeah,
it's because I'm
perfect.
looking at you while I'm talking. Yeah. Getting carried away. You had a conversation and you agreed that you are accountable for sales and marketing, right? And networking that's sales and marketing.
Yes.
And if you don't do it, you don't know what's going on. You miss opportunities to bring in new people, bring in new partners. And by the way, training people a lot of people think training is like elementary school. This is the way you do it, and it has to be this way. And if you don't do it right, you're going to sit in the corner, or I'm going to send you home, or anything like that. And of course, what that means is someone who's actually already good at what they do, they're going to resent the training.
Yes.
So subconsciously, they're not going to want to do it.
Especially if they had a bad experience when they were kids with teachers that were too
100%.
demanding.
100%.
They're going to feel bad about it.
And in fields that are creative and artistic, like your audience, the barber and the salons and what have you, the people who do the work have a tendency to be independent people, right? They have skills that they know they have. They have ideas that they want to express, right? They want to be good at what they do most of the time. And a lot of the reason why it may seem to owners that people are deliberately trying not to do a good job is because they're rebelling against you because you sounded like their dad, or like that teacher who was mean to them, or generally someone in society who didn't understand them beforehand, right?
That's a belief also, right?
It's 100%, yeah. It's very difficult for anybody to get their ego out of the way. Right now, I don't know if you're paying attention, but there's a lot in the news about Elon Musk and acquiring Twitter, and how this whole thing is now a big mess, right? To make a long story short, Elon Musk from Tesla decided he was going to buy Twitter. Twitter said, no, you're not. He got the shareholders of Twitter involved. They said, yes, we're going to sell this. That's a good deal. And then he went through a whole process of evaluating, et cetera. And now he says he doesn't want the deal. Meanwhile, what happened is people who owned stock...
But he did close the deal, right?
No.
No, he didn't?
He did not. And in fact, it's a big issue now because when he said he wanted to buy Twitter, Tesla stock went down because where's he going to get the money from? Twitter stock went up. But now when he said he doesn't want to buy it, Twitter stock's going down. So there's millions of people and institutions, by the way, that are living by the whim of Elon Musk. And I am convinced 100% that the only reason why he got involved in any of this in the first place was because he wanted to be a dick to Twitter, because he doesn't like them.
He hated it.
So he's the richest man in the world, right? But his ego about not being able to do whatever, who knows what it's going to cost his business. He'll be fine because he happens to be ridiculously wealthy, right? But most of us are not ridiculously wealthy.
Yes.
So if we let our ego get in the way, and I know, believe me, I know it's hard, wherever you are, whether you're the owner or whether you're a barber renting a chair or a nail person, it's very difficult, but you have to get your ego out of the way and understand that the person on the other side doesn't want you to fail, but they're more concerned about, A, their own failing themselves, and B, everyone wants respect. So if anyone feels like they're not getting respect, right, the whole thing blows up.
Ego is something that closes many doors for you.
100%.
And break many relationships.
100%.
Right? What do you have to say about how you you go through or unblock a belief?
So the way that we work as people is we have internal dialogues. Like if you stop for a minute and just pay attention to yourself, you'll notice that you're kind of talking to yourself. It might be daydreaming. It might be going over a list of things you have to do. But you're constantly talking to yourself. And what happens is very often some of the things that you're telling yourself are things that you learned when you were very young. And they're often things like if in English, there's a saying like never talk to strangers, right? And your parents teach you never talk to strangers. Now, fast forward, you're 25, 30 years old. You have a business. You need to talk to people to tell them about your business. But you've been learning since day one, never talk to strangers. It turns out it wasn't never talk to strangers. It was make sure you don't get kidnapped and abused. right?
Yes.
Right? But that's not what the challenge now. So that belief is just a belief. It's not a real thing, right? And sometimes people say, and I see this at every level, very successful people. I mean, if you would look at them from the outside, you would think they're successful. Nice house, nice car, good money, kids go to private schools, summer camps, but they're inside, they're really struggling. And it's because they're telling themselves things like, whatever I do fails, or you never live up to your potential. That's one that a lot of business owners hear because, I mean, this is a terrible thing to say, but usually the kids in school and university and all that who got straight A's, usually they're not the ones opening businesses. They're the
True.
ones becoming vice presidents eventually and
Executive.
maybe, executives. But it's the B and the C students who are opening businesses.
That's so true.
They've
Go
been
ahead.
they've been told their whole life when they were in school, you're not living up to your potential because everyone knows you're smart, everyone knows you're capable of it, but you're busy with other shit. I don't know what it is. Listening to rock music, watching, reading,
Yes.
sports. You know every player's statistics, but you're getting a C in math,
Well,
right?
I always had a C in math.
Right. The teacher is saying you don't live up to your potential. So now, you believe internally that you're not able to succeed. And worse, if you accidentally succeed at something and it's never accidental, you don't believe your success is real.
And you drop the ball.
Right. Or you're just miserable the whole time. So it really is, nothing is real. The world is not real. You can change your memories. I don't know if you know that.
I was about to say that. Let me share a little bit of my story,
Sure.
following with an analogy, okay?
Yeah.
My whole life, I think the most of us, we have been dictated in people with the P's. We call it with the P's. People with authority, like parents, professor, what else with the P's? Pastor, priest.
Right.
All these people has an authority when you're a kid, and they dictate what you have to do, right? Dictate?
Yeah.
Yeah, they dictate what you have to do. And all this thoughts, and they push you and saying and whatever they said through your whole life. So I had that. I have ADHD, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I could never learn.
Can I
in
tell you
school.
how many business owners have ADHD?
And successful people.
90%
Very
of them.
successful people. Yeah.
Michael Phelps.
The list goes
Unbelievable.
on.
The
Yeah.
list goes on. I'm going to share a little bit of Michael Phelps after. But my whole life, I've been thought like, Tico, you're dumb, you're
Mhm.
dunk, you can never learn.
Mhm.
You know, when you were, I was called to present present some
In school?
work project, right?
Yeah. Okay.
With the team, I was always shaking. I had diarrhea all the time
Right.
because I don't know how, I didn't learn how these other kids learn, and I couldn't present that project, right? And through my whole life, I've been thought that I could never learn, and I self-block myself.
Mhm.
That's how I say. I don't know how to say.
Yeah.
So I blocked myself, and I wasn't able to learn anything, like reading anything, going to workshops, seminars, and stuff. I could never learn, and she's a proof of that, right, babe?
Yes.
5 years ago, I had to unblock myself.
Mhm.
And then comes the analogy, right? If you think about a triangle, at the peak, that's your real world. That's the past. That's what happened in your life. And with whatever happened with you at the peak of the triangle becomes a thoughts. The thought becomes a result, as action, and action goes back to the real world,
To the result.
to the results.
Right.
So the way I found trying to explain what I asked you,
Mhm.
the way I found to unblock myself was putting new thoughts, like
100%.
Changing
learning,
your thoughts, right?
change my thoughts, change my habits. You know, always learning, always being conscious that I need to change my thoughts. So now,
Yeah, that's what you said, right? Changing your thoughts.
Your internal dialogue. And you can learn your internal dialogue
Yes.
when you find yourself having trouble with something. Ask yourself, why am I having trouble with this? And the answer you get is your internal dialogue. It doesn't matter what the answer is, right? It's your eternal dialogue. Just decide that whatever that voice is full of shit, because it probably is.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And it counts for everything. I'm not saying it's easy. Let's not pretend that it's easy. I mean, there's a whole field of psychology called CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy.
Mm-hmm.
It's the most effective, by the way, in helping people overcome anxiety and depression and assorted other things.
Yes.
But that's what it's all about. It's all about learning how to identify what you say to yourself that doesn't help you and to change it into something that helps you. By the way, usually if you pay attention, you'll see that the thing that you think, not only is it not helping you, it really is wrong. Like if you are independently owning a shop or independently renting a chair and doing hair and creating relationships with clients, if you're doing those things, nobody does that. Like that's rare. Most people go and get a job and do what they're told, right? So if you're telling yourself, oh, I can't do this or I'm no good at that, what do you mean no good at it? Clearly you're good at something, right? Oh, people don't like me. Somebody likes you. Like nobody likes you?
Yeah.
Well, no, this guy likes, sure, okay, but that's one person. That's it? Just one person? No, well, there's these two other people. Oh, so it's not that nobody likes you. It's that you think that a lot of people don't like you. How do you know what they think? Are you in their brain? Right?
Yeah.
So it's all stories that we're telling ourselves. And it blocks us in two ways. One is fear of failure, right? I don't want to try this thing because I'm just going to fail at it. It's also, by the way, fear of success, because a lot of people don't know what they're going to do with what they get from success, right? So I know someone who we were having just a nonsense conversation about winning the lottery. I don't play the lottery. The odds are terrible. You do what you want, right? But we were having a conversation about the lottery, and this person started to tell me about all these issues. Now I have to pay taxes. Where do I put the money? How do I invest the money? Now my family's going to come and everyone's going to want stuff from me, right? This person made winning the lottery into hell. Does it make any sense?
Nope, not at all.
Right? So it's not the money, it's not the situation, it's whatever it is we're telling ourselves. And it can happen in business too. If all these chairs are filled by other people who aren't me, then does that mean this isn't my business anymore? Who am I now in this business? What do I do now that all the chairs are full and everything's going? How do I spend my time? What happens if I want, right? We're trying to solve problems we don't have yet that we may have if we're actually successful at the thing we're doing. So it stops us even from getting started. The human brain is really...
Usually 90% of your worries will never happen.
100.
It's just in your
Absolutely.
mind.
Yeah.
You're creating situations that will never happen.
Right. And you have no choice because, we're animals essentially, and our goal up until like 100,000 years ago was don't get eaten by a lion,
Yes.
right? So now anything that seems scary in our brain, it's like, that's a lion. No, it's not a lion. Nothing's coming to bite your head off. The worst thing is something that can happen is something doesn't go the way you want it to and you learned something,
Yes.
right?
And your brain is kind of in the mode of surviving.
100%.
So if you feel like fear, risks, the brain's trying to pull you away because they don't want to go through that, right?
Right.
That
We know so many friends, people from our circle that we see a lot of potential on them to actually start a business. They're very smart, intelligent people, but they don't because they're afraid
Mm-hmm.
either of failure or of success.
Right.
And we see like, oh, this person is good at doing this. He would be a good business owner.
My advice to that person is Make a list of everything you think you need to do in order to get started, and then go find someone that has already done it and ask them to go over the list with you. It's amazing how much people want to help other people.
True.
I mean, when I say go ask someone, I can feel the audience, they're getting tense. Like, who am I going to ask, and why would that person? If you go to say to someone, listen, I would love your help. What that person hears is, I respect you. I admire you.
Yes.
Right? Of course they want to help you, because you just gave them the biggest compliment in the world
That's it.
without giving them the compliment, just by asking.
That's
There
so
was,
real. Yep.
there was one way to open their heart and their mind to help you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And they most likely will help you.
Absolutely.
One of the co-founders of Paul Mitchell, you know Paul
Yes.
Mitchell, the brand
Yes.
with tools and products.
Yeah. It's a great business story, by the way.
Great business story.
Yeah.
They were founded in the 80s.
Yeah.
The co-founder, John, I forgot his name. There was two. It was two friends, right?
Right.
There was
One has his name on the bottle, and the other we don't remember his name.
Yeah.
there was
But
one
he's
is,
counting his money too, so it, right? Yeah.
is John Paul something.
Yeah.
The other one is Paul Mitchell.
Okay.
I just forgot the last name
Right,
of
right.
the one that he wrote this phrase. He said, "Success unshared is failure."
100%.
Right? That's what I live for. I live to be successful and share everything I have accomplished.
Absolutely.
Me and my wife, that's our goal. We have the same vision. Me and my wife live through that.
We
right,
love
Bro?
sharing. Yes, because sometimes I feel that I don't know anything. And some clients, there are business owners, they come to me and ask for help. And at the same time that I feel like I don't have enough knowledge to help you. But at the same time, I feel like the little I know, it's enough to help this person. So it feels good.
It's the biggest, it's like, it seems like it's a secret, but no one's keeping it a secret. Business owners help each other.
Yes.
One of the things that I do, in addition to working with individual companies, is I have the commonly they're called masterminds. Sometimes they're called peer advisory groups. I have groups of business owners. They're all in different fields, but you can also do it with business owners in the same field if they're not in direct competition. And not only am I providing them content and material and food for thought, they're helping one another. And all I'm doing is facilitating the conversation. A lot of those people know way more than me. They're, by the way, in anything you can measure, except for maybe family, because I'm doing really great there, these people might be more successful than me. It's just very hard to work in your business and on your business at the same time. And these people find a lot of value speaking to other business owners, even other business owners who may not be, quote unquote, at their level. Their business isn't as big. It doesn't make as much revenue, whatever it is. Business owners help each other. They really do. No one does any of this on their own. And that's a big mistake I see a lot of small business owners making, which is they think, I have to do it. Otherwise, it's not real. But you don't have to. You're not responsible. You're accountable.
You
Right?
have to
Back to that conversation.
You have to let the bone go at a point,
Yeah.
right?
And ask for help when you need.
Ask for help, find mentors, find teachers, books, do whatever to do to
Everybody
move
has
forward.
a coach. I mean, I'm dating myself, but Michael Jordan didn't need anyone to help him shoot baskets, right? But he still had multiple coaches, a coach
Yeah.
during the game, and a fitness coach, right, and a mindset coach. The guy was at the time maybe still the best basketball player who ever lived. He didn't do it by himself.
I found myself in 2017 understand who I was, right, as an entrepreneur, because my whole life comes down to us as an individual. We killing our dream because of those bad thoughts, those negative thoughts that we've been saying over and over when we were kids and a young age. In 2008, all my life I lived like, oh, I can't do that, and negative thoughts. And every time that I thought something negative would happen,
Of course.
You're attracting,
I
right?
was
well,
attracting my whole life
You
negative
find
thoughts.
what you're looking for is really the way that I describe it. And you can see it all the time in people, in relationships between people. If someone thinks that the other person doesn't like them, they go into the conversation or the relationship expecting the other person to do or say something that proves that they don't like them. So then the other person says something, and the first person says, see, they don't like me. How dare they say X, Y, Z? And that person didn't even mean what you think they meant.
True.
You found the interpretation that you were looking for.
I have a question for you. So in the beginning of the conversation, you're talking about exit strategies for business. One thing that is very common in our industry is that barbers don't think about the future. So they start cutting hair, they have this dream, they open a shop, the shop is doing well, they have a couple staff working for them, but usually they don't have an exit strategy. And years later, they're older and they don't know what to do because they didn't plan. So what would be a good strategy for a barber shop in the sense that this person can retire or work less hours and still have the income coming and being able to afford his life, his family, whatever?
Right. So step number one is, what do you want to do? Right? I mean, there are some people who genuinely, they're artisans, they're craftsmen. They genuinely want to cut hair, right? Whether their client's a male, a female, doesn't matter. They love it. They want to do it. If you're trading your time for money, and that's what you're always going to do, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not making a value judgment. You have to figure out a way to make more money for your time, right? And the way to do that is A, get really good at what you're doing, and B, have other people doing the things that are, I'll call it, lower value hair, right? So for example, I'm a balding middle-aged guy. For years, I did my own hair. Well, my wife did my hair. I said, here's the clipper, put it on number one.
Looks like your wife did.
Yeah,
No, I'm just kidding.
You better be careful because this haircut's from your shop. Yeah, here's number one, and that's what my wife could do it. She didn't learn how to do hair. She didn't. I mean, in the beginning, the edges were cockeyed or whatever, but eventually she learned, right? But it's a low value, right? So if you have a shop and there, let's say 50% of the people who are coming in just want a regular haircut, you want to have other people available to just do the regular haircut, because what you're doing is creating scarcity of your own time, right? So it's harder to get an appointment with you particularly. And since it's harder, you're more valuable, which means you can make more money, right? So now the question is, what do you do over time? Over time, you want to continue to increase your own. I mean, there are people who charge hundreds of dollars for a haircut, right? I mean, $100 now, that's what a doctor makes, right? So your goal, that's number one. And then whatever money you take home, don't spend it like a dummy. Invest it, some of it, right? You have to keep track of your personal expenses. So that's one thought, right? The second one, though, is how can I build this business so that someone else would want it? It's not going to happen in a year or 2 years, usually, right? But if I spend the next 10 years working on this business, in other words, the business is the product, not the haircuts that I give. The business itself is the product. How do I make this business attractive so that someone else would buy it? You work towards that. It doesn't matter, by the way, you don't have to think right away who would buy it, because I can give you many examples of who might buy your business. And why don't I do it right now? I mean, it might be someone who's working in your business, or a few people that are working in your business. It might be someone else who has a couple of shops that are similar to yours or salons that are similar to yours, and they want to grow their business, right? So they might buy yours to become part of their part of their business, right? You never know. It might be your own children, because you've done such a good job building this business that it makes sense for your own children to take over the business. We forget that in order to take over the business and for you to benefit from it, your children have to, quote unquote, buy the business from you. But we're getting a little complicated. The point is, goes back to the conversation about strategy. And the first part of the strategy is, what do you want?
Always go back to what you want.
Right? And by the way, you can change your mind. So you can say for 5-10 years, I'm doing this so that I'm an artisan, I want to do this, I want to charge $500 a haircut. And then 10 years later say, you know what, I think I want to sell this business. And you didn't waste your time. Now you have a different challenge, which is find who else can cut hair for $500 a pop, right? And carry on the name of your business. Or maybe something else comes up. You come up with a line of hair products, right? Or you decide you become so good at running your business because you've been thinking about how to make it run efficiently that you can sell the process of running the business, right? That's what franchising is, sometimes licensing. If someone buys a Dunkin' Donuts, what are they buying? They're buying the name, but they're buying all the processes. They don't have to think about anything.
True.
And in fact, I would suggest that for every small business is write down all of your processes as if you were going to sell your business. Everything from step 1, 10 o'clock on Tuesday, come in, unlock the door, turn on the lights, relock the door. Go to the back, turn on all the lights, sweep the floor, like every step, so that if someone else had to do it, they could do it.
And once you have all that information in your hands, that leads you somewhere,
100%,
somewhere better.
100%.
Wow.
The information itself has value.
Yes.
It's like having a mailing list. If you have a shop and you have a very good email list of hundreds of names of people, everyone, it's probably better, thousands of names, of course, but of people who we know at least they're interested in hair products and hair set, and someone will buy that list from you.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, that's very true. What about a barber? In our industry, as a barber, we work at a barber shop or salon, whatever. We never think we are the business owner. We are self-employed behind that chair. What do you have to say about that? In meaning that, what do you?
I don't care what you do for a living. You're a business owner. You're making a living at it. It's a business deal. If you're an employee at someone's business, they pay you to do something, and you do the thing that they pay you to do. That's a business transaction, right? And we hear a lot of stories about, I was loyal to this company and then they just fired me, right? They're terrible people. And they may be terrible people, but there may be other things going on. The point is, when you are working, that's not your family. That's your team, right? In sports, they can trade anybody from any team. I don't care how good you are, right? Because they want something else or they need something else or whatever it is. So whatever it is you're doing, you're in a business for yourself. And I know that's very hard for most people to understand. But if you're going to be the owner of a shop or a 1099 contractor who has to rent a chair, you better believe you're in business for yourself. So that means, back to the beginning, you have to have an idea of where you want to go, and then you have to do sales and marketing, you have to do operations, and you got to do finance.
You know what is interesting about what you said? I think in the beginning I had a hard time dealing with my emotions, understanding my role, because I was always working for someone, and then we started a business. I wasn't an employee anymore. And then to understand my role and understand my relationship with my team, in the beginning I had a conflict, like an emotional conflict, until I understood that the things that happened there, or whatever the employee said, or whatever conflict, or with clients, it's not personal. It took me a while to figure it out, like it's not a personal issue. Let's say you're unhappy with your haircut, and then you're really angry and you start treating me really bad, and I'm at the front desk. It took me a while to understand this is not personal. He just had a problem with the haircut. He doesn't have a problem with me. So, okay, let's fix the haircut and let's give you a refund or whatever. It took me a while to understand this emotional thing, this emotional attachment. As you said, like they sell players between, it doesn't matter how good you are, they're going to sell you to another team. And
Absolutely.
that's business.
There's a great movie for that called Moneyball, which is about Oakland A's team in the I want to say early 2000s. Doesn't matter. But it's a great movie. It's fun to watch. But there's a scene where the mentor sends the character to fire somebody. And the character is super nervous. And the mentor tells him, just go in there and tell him, you know, we're trading you this, that, and the other thing. Super nervous. So he goes in and he says what he has to say. Listen, we decided to make some changes and we're trading you to the Pirates or whatever it was. And the guy goes, okay.
That's it.
Because he knew his situation, right? Which most people don't know. Now you hit on something, though, that we haven't talked about so much, which is leadership, right? Because no matter how good you are at your ego and managing your emotions, other people are not necessarily, right? So part of being a good leader is being able to take yourself out of being reactive.
Yes.
It's not just about customers, right? It's about coworkers. It's about bosses. It's about landlords, right? I mean, I never met anyone who liked their landlord in the history of the world, right? Because his job is to raise the rent and make money and not fix anything.
True.
And your job is to lower the rent and have a good facility, right? There's no way. You might be outside of this relationship, you might have been the best of friends. But the minute that person is your landlord, he's a son of a bitch, period.
Same thing when you're
You're
a
the
boss.
boss.
Same thing when you're a boss.
Yeah.
Same thing when you have the shop and someone else is renting the chair. That person, in their mind, they have a level of animosity towards you.
Yes.
Because whatever happens, they have to pay you money,
True.
whether or not they're
They made the
successful
money or
or
not.
whatever, right? And they're going to resent you for it, even though it has nothing to do with you. So again, it's not easy, but you have to find a way to take shit with a clear mind.
I learned how to do that.
We
You know,
both learned.
We both learned what happened. What happened with us once? Once of our collaborator, he said, "You are taking half what I'm making.
Like you're
taking
stealing my money.
You're stealing
Yeah.
my money." That's
Right.
That's
the
his
words.
thought.
Yeah,
I'll never take. Back then, we were so upset.
yeah,
But now we don't take that to bad anymore.
right.
You know, I don't take
Yes.
to the heart. I understand who's with us, and they are harvesting the fruits.
Yep. By the way, that's an opportunity to teach someone, right? So I don't know how, is it literally when someone has a chair in your shop that you get half of whatever they make, or is it a flat fee?
It depends. If it's renting,
Yeah.
it's a flat fee.
Right.
If you work with commission, if
It
it's
varies.
a barbershop commission based,
Right,
it
yeah.
varies. Could be anywhere from 50 to 60, 70%
But
that
you
the
know-
barber
right.
takes.
But they know what it is going in.
Yes, of course. When they're hired to work,
Right.
they know the commission level they will
Or
receive.
the rent or whatever it is, right?
And what happens is the business is providing the structure, the clients, the cleaning, the marketing.
100%.
So it's not that we are taking, but in his vision, in his
I
mind,
understand.
like
Absolutely.
you're taking my money.
My response to that would be, how would you like it to be different?
That's a good
Nowadays, I
answer.
would do that, but not back then. We couldn't.
Of course not.
We did.
because
We weren't
you're-
prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. No one's good at this, but naturally, nobody.
We had a situation.
Business it's a skill.
It's a skill.
And it's hard. This is why nobody goes into business. Like, if you're listening right now and you have a business, I want you to know people don't do that. Maybe you think that people do because most of your friends also are in business. People don't open businesses. It's rare. Most people just go to work.
I never thought about that way. I personally had a funny situation with a barber that worked for us. So you mentioned about not being reactive. And I used to be a reactive person. If you said something to me, I would react and yell back at you. So I had to train myself to be a different person because now I have people working with me. And if I didn't change, people wouldn't work for me.
Right.
And then this person, he was a barber. He worked for us for a while. And then we decided it was not being a good relationship. He was creating a lot of problems with the team, with the clients, with us. So we decided to let him go. And then one Saturday he came into the shop. He was no longer working with us. And the shop was full, completely full. And he came. I was at the front desk and he started saying in a very loud voice like that we have a system to book appointments, right? So I create the master account and they have their accounts. So I can see everybody's schedule, manage, put people there, schedule, cancel, and they can only see their own schedule. But they only have access to that based on my account. So he started yelling that he wanted his access back, that I couldn't take his access from him, that the whole list of clients was his clients, and he was yelling in the front desk, and the shop was full. If it was before, I would yell back, right? Like, what are you talking about? Just leave. But then I learned that I can be reactive. So I was analyzing the situation. He was talking a lot of nonsense. If I argue with him, we wouldn't get to nowhere. And then the shop was full. My barbers were working. Everybody was looking at him, looking at me, expecting my reaction. And then I just said, because he was like, that's my list of clients. You have to give me back the access. You can't just delete my account, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to go to court and sue you. He was talking all this nonsense.
Yeah, when you're in business, everyone likes to talk about how they're going to sue you.
Yes.
No one ever sues anybody.
And then I
It's a
just
waste of time and
said, okay, you can do whatever you want. And I left. So when I left and I went to the kitchen, there was no way he could keep the back and forth. So I just cut the discussion. And then he was there looking like lost because he was expecting me to react. And I didn't.
Right.
So he was like, and then he saw that no one was actually giving him attention and he left.
Of course.
After he left, the whole barber shop started laughing at the same time. Clients and barbers like, what just happened? What's wrong with this dude?
Right.
So not being reactive, it's a skill that business owners definitely need to have. Because you're going to
Absolutely.
encounter situations with staff, with clients,
With strangers.
with strangers. Yeah.
You know, so people sometimes say, someone shows up and says, oh, I'm from the court and I'm serving you these papers. Those people are used to getting yelled at,
Yeah.
right?
For
What do you
sure.
mean, blah, blah? There's no reason to yell at that guy. He can't do anything.
Yeah.
So relax, say, okay, and take the papers. Sometimes people come and say, like, I'm going to sue you. I'm going to take everything away. My response would be, okay. Do what you know,
That's the
do
best
what you
thing you
got to
could
do,
do.
and
Whatever.
right.
The,
Now,
the reactions say
this person could have done something else. I understand their issue. What the person should have done, in my opinion, is come and said, listen, I know it didn't work out between us. We weren't a good fit, but it would be really great for me if I could get that list of clients so that I could reach out to people.
Yep.
And that doesn't mean, I'm not telling you right now to say yes or to say no. I'm just saying if the person had been reasonable, something might have come out of it. Healthy for everybody.
Exactly.
I truly believe those energy, you can use those energy in your favor, meaning that the more how you react, it says a lot about yourself, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So if someone, we're talking about people skills, if someone today is opening a business and they ask me, Chico, since you're in the business for 5 years, I want advice from you or tip or whatever, would you give to me? I'll say people skills.
Yeah.
Even though they have to go through the process and learn on the way,
Right.
right?
Well, that's like anything. This is another issue I think people have is they think they're going to get some advice or read a book and they're going to be good automatically at whatever it is because they understand the words. But it doesn't work that way. You get good at things by practicing.
By practicing.
So the mindset isn't, oh, I'm never going to be good at this, or I blew it, or whatever. It's, okay, let's review what just happened. I know that I shouldn't have yelled. So next time this happens, what will I do?
True.
Right?
You know what I have to say? I have a friend. He's a book smarter, right? He reads lots of book. I think he's got a obesity of
The brain?
information in the brain, right? He's a really nice guy. He's a cool friend. He helps me a lot. But I truly believe if you don't overcome, if you don't go through and learn from that experience, how you can transmit that to other people? How can you just, how do I'm going to say this?
How can you coach someone
can
on
coach
how to
someone?
run their business
You
if you're
can't.
not a business owner?
They can't.
Let
They
me-
first of all, in order to, the person who makes the decision isn't to be, in the coaching relationship, isn't the coach. It's the person who is coached. They're in charge. If they don't want to be coached, there's nothing you can do.
I have this strong way of thinking that if someone will be my coach, they need to be like, let's say I'm an entrepreneur, they need to been through the process, being entrepreneur. I think the most coaches are entrepreneur experts and also like executives. So I truly believe in people that been through the process and live the experiences. That's how I believe. I don't believe much in. That's my way, my opinion.
I wouldn't have a coach that doesn't really live
Lived.
that situation, because he's just talking about what he read, not about how he overcame.
Yeah. So it depends on what it is you're looking for from the coach, right?
Yes.
True.
Sometimes you're too busy to read 100 books. So it's good to have someone around who read 100 books and is good at giving you the
information.
The information.
Yes.
Sometimes, and you talk about executives. To me, an executive is not someone who has owned a business, unless you have lost sleep because you don't know where the money's coming from. You don't know what it's like to own a business. That's my opinion.
A knowledge.
That doesn't mean you have to know what that feels like. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if you've ever been in this situation. I imagine so, because most people I know who have been in business have gone through this, where from one day to the next, you don't know how you're going to pay rent,
Yes.
pay electricity, pay all the people who work for you, and take home money to eat.
Yep.
Like, you don't know how it's going to happen. Unless you've been in that situation, it's very hard to understand someone who's in that situation.
Exactly.
Sometimes what that person needs isn't related to that situation. It's just information. But sometimes what the person needs is, listen, trust me, this is going to work out. You're not going to starve. Everything's going to be okay. I've been through that. Let's get our head back in the game, right? That's what a coach. There's a difference between a coach and a consultant, right? A consultant has answers. A coach has questions and experience. That's my thinking. I personally do both things, right?
That was one of my questions. You
Yeah.
answered already.
Yeah.
An analogy on top of that is learning how to ride a bike. Okay, if you learning how to ride a bike, you fell many times, and you did find the break even for the balance for everything, right?
Right.
If you never learned how to ride a bike,
Right.
you don't know what that feeling is.
Correct.
Right?
But you might be able to explain it to someone.
To explain it to someone.
Yeah, so I think for some certain subjects, you can have a coach that has not been through that. So let's say financial help. The person doesn't really need to have a business to know. Maybe he work in the corporate to whatever. They can help you.
Correct.
With some
so
stuff.
That to me is probably not someone coaching. It's probably a consultant.
A consultant, yeah.
Now, to be clear about that, often it's what's that saying? If all you have is a hammer, every problem is a nail.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes your financial consultant sees everything that's could be changed in the finance, but they don't know anything about the operations or the sales and the marketing. So the decision you make may not be the best decision because it doesn't take into account all the information.
That's true. And one thing that I learned over the years is that all my results, whatever strategy I create with a consultant, a mentor, a coach, whatever, it all comes to the bottom of my people.
Mm-hmm.
They are the one that will produce the money, the revenue, the profit, the sales. So some decisions that are just financial decisions won't work
Correct.
because I need people to execute them. So I have to always put my people first. How my people be able to do this? Are they
You
trained?
have to know the financial information, but you have to make it. You take the risk. That's what owning a business is, right? So
Yes.
it's the same thing if you go to a lawyer. If you go to a lawyer with a contract, the lawyer will tell you everything that's wrong with the contract. But you, the business owner, have to make the decision if you're going to take the risk or not take the risk.
Give you the face for a slap, right?
Right.
Just-
Yeah.
So let's change the subject a
Sure.
little bit, talking about marketing communication
Sure.
and branding. Marketing, it's about what I have. Marketing, it's about what you're talking about yourself, right? And branding, it is what people see you, how people see you, how people thinking about you. So can we
Yes.
talk about a little bit of that?
Sure. Yeah. So there are things that you have control over in life and in business, and there's things you don't have control over, right? So just like you can say something to someone and they misunderstand you, you don't have control over that, correct? So there's a lot of conversation about the difference between marketing and branding, and I'll address the question in a minute. I just want to be sort of clear about when I say marketing, what I mean. To me, marketing is every decision you make about the business that isn't the R&D, let's say, or the innovation, right? So I'll give you an example. How much should you charge for a men's haircut or a woman's haircut? It's a marketing decision.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know how you're not going to lose money on it, but whether or not you decide you're going to charge a lot of money or whether or not you're going to charge not so much money has nothing to do with reality. It's a marketing decision. Where your shop opens is a marketing decision. It's not about where the rent is good or the rent is bad. Only you have to know that, right? But you don't want to open a shop in a place where no one can get to, no one's ever going to be there, no one's ever going to see you, right? You need people to know that you exist, and part of that is they see your sign because they're in the area, right? What kind of services you give, what your product is a marketing decision. Do we only want to do men's hair, or do we want to do men and women's hair? Do we want to do men's hair, or do we want to do men's hair and beard?
Mm-hmm.
Do we want, right? So that's a marketing decision.
The age of your clients.
The age of your clients, right? Do I want to cut hair for only young people or for everybody, right? All of that stuff is a marketing decision. Usually when we say marketing, what we mean is promotion, right? And that's what the part your question is about. So marketing is price, place. Place is how you distribute it, right? We talked about the shop, right? So price, place, product, what's the thing that you're actually selling, and promotion, right? So promotion is how you get people to know you exist and how you get them to buy from you, right? Your brand is what people think about you based on all those other decisions you made, promotion, price, et cetera, and so on.
Wow.
Now, you should have an idea of what you would like your brand to be on purpose, right? So you can go to online and buy a diamond ring, or you can go to Tiffany and buy a diamond ring. They're the same quality ring, same quality gold, same quality diamond. The Tiffany one's going to cost more money. And there are people who are happy to pay more money because they're going to show up with that little blue box, right? And the brand itself has a meaning beyond the product itself,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you want your brand to be high end, you have to charge a lot of money. You have to.
Yes.
If you want your brand, it also means everyone in your shop has to look good, They have to be groomed.
In all
They have to be
terms, all
right.
forms.
The shop has to be clean. You can't have mismatched crapola. You know what I mean? Unless
What is that crapola?
crap.
It's a saying.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Unless your design is eclectic, but even then it has to be sort of on purpose, right?
Mhm.
Your brand is, the brand isn't only high end or low end, right? So like Amazon's brand is convenience. What you get on Amazon, sometimes it's less expensive than a store, sometimes it's more expensive than a store. But what's convenient is you can just order it and it shows up at your house. That's Amazon, right? Costco's brand is good value. It doesn't mean it's the cheapest thing in the world. In fact, you get like high-end stuff there, and you have to buy big quantities of it, but it might be less expensive than somewhere else. Or you know that if you don't like it, you can always bring it back, right?
Wow.
And so their whole business model is, what's the price at Costco? It's 20% profit on anything they sell. Period.
Period. Amazing answer.
Where do they make their money from? Membership.
Mhm.
Why do you join? Because you trust them. That's what they're selling you. That
Trust.
whatever is in this store is good. We stand behind it, and you're going to get it at a very fair price.
Guys, we were out of the script today, but I have one last question. We had an amazing expert here, but last question, okay? This will be, when you look at a company or at an organization, what defines success for you for that company?
That it's fulfilling for everybody involved.
Oh, that's a great
Wow,
answer.
amazing, right? You nailed it.
Everybody involved is happy to get up in the morning and go be on the mission.
Wow.
You listen to the man, an expert. You know how much I have learned here
I'm
today?
glad. I hope so. Yeah.
And you went to the shop, and I was glad you were there. It's good
Which
to
is actually how we met. I
met
just
first
came
time.
in to pay for a haircut, right? Yeah.
And actually being surrounded with people like you, it's just amazing. I was here like a student, learned from you, and I believe a lot of our audience learned a lot here in this interview today. Thank you again for coming out. Guys, follow me, Tick Invictus, on Instagram. This podcast, again, is sponsored by Invictus Podcast Studio. I have this amazing person here. He's an
Thank
expert.
you. I want you to know that I learned a lot too. It's not a one-way street.
Thank you very, very
Of
much.
course,
Thank
yeah.
you for coming and take
My
your,
pleasure. Thanks
your
for having me.
time and you amazing was amazing. Thank
Thanks
you.
very much.